You got to understand something today. Nothing in your life will change until you change. You can dream, you can talk, you can plan, but if you don't move, if you don't grow, if you don't evolve, your life stays the same. It's not about luck. It's not about luck. It's not about chances. It's about choices. I learned the hard way that wishing for change doesn't bring results. Working for change does. Every time I blamed someone else for my situation, I gave away my power. But when I took ownership, when I said, it is on me, that's when everything shifted. You've got to get to a point where your desire to change is greater than your desire to stay comfortable. Because comfort kills dream. Growth is painful, but nothing is more painful than staying stuck somewhere you don't belong. Stop saying one day, stop saying no one day, stop saying no day one. Stop waiting for motivation. Get disciplined. Stop making excuses. Stop making moves. Your breakthrough isn't waiting somewhere out there. It's waiting inside you. So today, make a decision. I will change. I will change. I will grow. I will do what it takes, not what's easy. Because my life won't change unless I do. Ownership over excuses is a line that separates dreamers from doers, talkers from transformers, and the defeated from the determined. When you look at your life and say, oh, this is where I am because of my choices, something powerful begins to happen inside you. You stop giving away your power. You stop handing over control to circumstances, people, or the past. You realize that the only person who can truly change your life is the one staring back at you in the mirror. The truth is, it's easier to blame than to build, easier to complain than to commit, and easier to point finger than to take responsibility. But the easy route never leads to real growth. The moment you decide to own your life, every mistake, every failure, every delay is the moment you begin to rewrite your story. Most people live in the land of excuses. They say things like, I didn't get the job because the world is unfair, or I can't start my business because I don't have enough money, or I can't lose weight because I don't have time. Excuses sound reasonable when you first say them because they protect your ego. They make you feel safe from blame. But over time, excuses become a cage. They trap your potential and blind you to possibilities. You start believing that life is happening to you instead of through you. You forget that the power to change your situation was never taken from you. You just surrendered it. Every time you make an excuse, you hand over the keys to your own freedom. Ownership takes those keys back. When I talk about ownership, I don't mean guilt. I don't mean shame. I mean empowerment. Ownership is saying, I am where I am because of what I've done or not done. And I have the power to change that. It's not about punishing yourself for your past. It's about positioning yourself for your future. Think about it. If you believe your failures are someone else's fault, you also believe your success depends on them too. And that means you're powerless. But if you own your failures, you take back control. You accept that you made choices that got you here. And because of that, you can make new choices to go somewhere better. When you start taking ownership, you begin to see everything differently. Instead of saying, I didn't get the promotion because my boss doesn't like me, you say, maybe I didn't perform at my highest level. Maybe I can develop new skills, show more initiative, communicate better. Instead of saying, I can't save money because life is too expensive, you say, oh, let me look at my habits. Let me see where I can adjust, where I can improve, where I can grow. Ownership shifts your focus from external problems to internal power. The more responsibility you take, the more authority you gain over your own life. It's uncomfortable to face yourself honestly. It's not easy to admit that you've been standing in your own way, but discomfort is the cost of growth. When you stop blaming, you start learning. When you stop avoiding responsibility, you start creating results. Every time you own your choices, you level up your mindset. You start thinking like a leader instead of a victim. A victim says, a life is unfair. A leader says, a life is challenging, but I'll find a way. A victim says, I can't control what happens to me. A leader says, I can control how I respond. And that difference in thinking is everything. Ownership transforms your identity. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you because you realize you were the hero all along. Think about any person who changed their life completely. Athletes, entrepreneurs, teachers, parents, artists. It all started with ownership. They stopped saying I can't and started asking, how can I? How can I? That's when doors begin to open. Ownership is magnetic. It attracts opportunity. When people see that you take full responsibility for your actions, they trust you, they respect you. Life begins to reward you because you're showing up differently. You're no longer reacting, you're leading. Let's be honest, life will always give you reasons to make excuses. There will always be obstacles, distractions, disappointments. You can always find someone or something to blame. But ownership doesn't depend on circumstances. It's a decision you make every single day. You choose it when you wake up tired but still show up. You choose it when things fall apart and you still refuse to quit. You choose it when you make mistakes and say, that's on me, but it won't stop me. Ownership is not a one-time moment. It's a lifestyle. It's the daily discipline of holding yourself accountable even when no one is watching. The truth is, excuses are comfortable because they protect you from the pain of failure. If you say it's someone else's fault, you never have to admit that you could have done more. But the pain of ownership is temporary. The pain of excuses lasts forever. When you take ownership, you take the first step toward change. You say, this is my life and I'm responsible for what happens in it. That declaration changes your energy, your focus, your drive. You stop waiting for the perfect time or perfect conditions. You realize the perfect time to start changing is now. When you own your choices, you also own your outcomes. You start to see the connection between your actions and your results. You start noticing patterns. Every time you procrastinate, you fall behind. Every time you stay disciplined, you get closer to your goals. That awareness builds power. Ownership gives you the clarity to make better decisions because you understand the cause and effect of your behavior. You begin to live intentionally, not accidentally. You stop letting life just happen to you. You start designing it. Sometimes ownership means admitting that you wasted time. Maybe you stayed in a comfort zone too long. Maybe you listened to fear instead of faith. Maybe you let negative people influence you. That's okay. The point of ownership isn't to beat yourself up. It's to wake yourself up. You can't fix what you don't face. When you own your mistakes, you take the first step to mastering them. The moment you say, I could have done better, you create the possibility to do better next time. Every setback becomes a setup for growth when you approach it with ownership. And let me tell you something, ownership isn't just for when things go wrong. It's also about taking credit for your effort, your persistence, your improvement. Celebrate your growth. Own your progress just as much as your problems. When you start acknowledging how far you've come, you build confidence to go even further. Ownership fuels self-belief. You realize that you're capable, that your actions matter, that your decisions have weight. That realization is what separates those who change their lives from those who keep repeating the same cycles. The world we live in often rewards excuses. It's easier to complain than to change. People love sympathy stories. They'll tell you it's okay to stay stuck because it's not your fault. But that kind of comfort kills your potential. Ownership isn't about harshness. It's about honesty. When you take ownership, you stop lying to yourself. You stop pretending everything's fine when it's not. You stop saying you're trying when you know you're not giving 100%. That kind of self-honesty is rare and it's powerful. Once you start being brutally honest with yourself, you start building unstoppable momentum. Because you can't grow from what you deny, but you can transform what you confront. There will be people who don't understand your new mindset. Your new mindset. When you start taking ownership, you start outgrowing people who prefer excuses. They'll tell you you're being too hard on yourself, too serious, too focused. Ignore that. They're speaking from their comfort zone, not your calling. Ownership demands sacrifice. It means letting go of victimhood, self-pity, and laziness. It means replacing complaints with commitment and blame with belief. And not everyone is ready for that level of accountability. But those who are, the ones who truly commit to ownership, become unstoppable. Let's say you're in a storm right now. Maybe life feels heavy. Maybe nothing is working. Maybe you feel stuck. The question is, are you waiting for the storm to pass, or are you taking responsibility for building a stronger shelter? Ownership doesn't mean you control everything. It means you control your response to everything. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sail. You can't control how people treat you, but you can control how you react. You can't control the past, but you can control what you do next. That's ownership, responding with power instead of reacting with excuses. You might not be where you want to be yet, but that's okay. The important thing is to stop pointing fingers and start looking inward. The moment you say, my life won't change unless I do, it's the moment your transformation begins. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission. You stop waiting for the right time. You stop waiting for opportunities to come to you, and you start creating them. You realize that your dreams don't depend on luck or timing. They depend on your willingness to take responsibility for your growth. Every great change begins with a moment of truth. That moment when you finally admit, I'm tired of my own excuses. That's where freedom starts. Because once you take ownership, you stop being a prisoner of your past. You become a creator of your future. You realize that no one is coming to save you. And that's the best news ever, because it means you have everything you need within you to save yourself. Ownership is the ultimate form of self-love. It says, I care about my future too much to keep blaming my past. So take a deep breath. Look at your life, the wins, the losses, the regrets, the lessons, and then say it with conviction. This is my responsibility. This is my life. And if it's going to change, it starts with me. Don't fear ownership. Because once you own your life, you own your power. And once you own your power, nothing can stop you. The power of daily habits is the quiet force behind every great transformation. Success doesn't arrive in one big moment. It's built piece by piece, choice by choice, day by day. People often believe that life changes through sudden breakthroughs, dramatic events, or moments of luck. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Your habits shape your future. The things you repeatedly do, whether good or bad, slowly carve the direction of your life. You don't decide your future directly. You decide your habit, and your habits decide your future. What you do every single day becomes who you are. The small actions you take, the small disciplines you follow, and the small promises you keep. They all compound into massive change over time. Every morning you wake up, you're writing a new page in the story of your life. And what fills those pages are your habits. The way you start your day, the thoughts you feed your mind, the energy you invest, the choices you make, all of it adds up. A few missed workouts won't ruin your health, and a few skipped tasks won't destroy your career. But consistent neglect of the small things always leads to big consequences. Likewise, consistent attention to small actions creates extraordinary results. The magic of daily habits is that they don't feel powerful in the moment, but their power grows quietly in the background. Like drops of water carving a rock, daily discipline slowly reshapes your destiny. Most people underestimate the importance of what they do each day because they're too focused on the big picture. They dream of success, but ignore the process that builds it. They look at someone successful and say, they're lucky, without seeing the years of consistent effort behind the scenes. Success is never a one-time event. It's the result of repeating the right things long enough that they become part of who you are. You don't get fit by going to the gym once. You get fit by showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. You don't become rich by saving money once. You do it by managing your spending daily. You don't become wise by reading one book. You grow by feeding your mind every day. Habits are the invisible architects of your life. If you want to change your life, start by changing your days. What you repeatedly do determines what you eventually become. Every decision you make in a single day is a vote for the person you want to be. When you choose to study instead of scroll, you vote for growth. When you choose to work out instead of procrastinate, you vote for strength. When you choose to wake up early instead of hitting snooze, you vote for discipline. And though a single vote might not seem to matter, over time those votes add up and shape your identity. The more consistent your positive actions, the stronger your belief becomes that you are that kind of person. And once your identity shifts, your behavior follows naturally. You no longer have to force good habits, they become your standard. The beautiful thing about habits is that don't require perfection. You don't have to do everything right every day. You just have to be consistent enough that the good outweighs the bad. Success doesn't demand extraordinary talent. It demands extraordinary consistency. People often wait for motivation to act, but the truth is, habits make motivation unnecessary. Once something becomes part of your routine, It doesn't require emotional energy. It just becomes automatic. The first few days of building a new habit are hard. You have to push through resistance, fight old patterns, and stay focused even when progress is invisible. But if you stick with it long enough, the effort decreases while the results multiply. Your habits become who you are without you even thinking about them. Habits are like seeds. When you plant a seed, nothing happens at first. Days pass, weeks pass. You water it, care for it, nurture it, and still the surface looks unchanged. But deep underground, something powerful is happening. Roots are forming, growth is beginning, and then suddenly one day you see a sprout. That's how habits work. For a long time, it seems like your effort isn't paying off, but if you keep showing up, results begin to appear. And once they do, they grow faster and stronger than you ever imagined. The compounding effect of small actions is the greatest advantage you'll ever have. One small improvement each day may not feel like much, but over a year, that's 365 improvements. Over a few years, it's a completely new life. Bad habits, on the other hand, work the same way, but in reverse. Neglect is silent. You skip one workout, you stay up too late once, you eat one unhealthy meal. It doesn't seem like a big deal. Well, over time, those little choices stack up and their weight becomes heavy. You don't notice your habits when they're building. You only notice when their results arrive. That's why awareness is so important. You have to be conscious of what you repeatedly do, because every repetition is either building your future or breaking it or breaking. Every habit is a step toward growth or decline. There's no neutral ground. To truly harness the power of daily habits, you need clarity. You must know who you want to become. Habits are easier to build when they are connected to a deeper purpose. If your goal is to get fit, don't just say, I want to work out. Tell yourself, I'm the type of person who respects my body. If your goal is to grow financially, say, I'm the type of person who makes wise financial decisions. When your habits align with your identity, consistency becomes natural. You're not forcing yourself to change. You're expressing who you already believe yourself to be. That's the secret to lasting transformation. Many people give up on their goals because they focus on the result instead of the process. They want instant gratification. They want to see progress immediately. But habits don't work that way. You won't always see results right away, but that doesn't mean progress isn't happening. Think about ice melting. If you have a block of ice at 25 degrees F and you heat it up 1 degree at a time, nothing happens for a while. At 26 degrees F, 27 degrees F, 28 degrees F, still ice. But when it hits 32 degrees F, it suddenly begins to melt. That breakthrough didn't come from one final degree. It came from all the degrees before it. That's how habits work. Every small effort matters. Every repetition brings you closer to the tipping point where transformation becomes visible. Building good habits requires patience and intentionality. You must design your environment to support the life you want. Willpower is limited, but structure is powerful. If you want to eat healthy, keep healthy food visible. If you want to read more, keep a book by your bed instead of your phone. If you want to save money, automate your savings before you can spend. Don't rely on self-control. Build systems that make good choices easier and bad choices harder. Successful people don't have more willpower. They have better structures. They understand that habits thrive in environments that support them. Habits also thrive on consistency, not intensity. It's better to do a small thing every day than a big thing once in a while. Reading 10 pages a day beats reading 1 book a year. Exercising for 20 minutes daily beats working out for 3 hours once a week. Writing for 15 minutes daily beats waiting for inspiration once a month. The secret is not to do more, but to never stop. You don't need to take massive leaps. You just need to keep taking steps. Over time, those steps become strides, and those strides become success. Every great person you admire has built their life on the foundation of habits. Athletes practice daily routines that sharpen their performance. Entrepreneurs follow structured systems that keep their businesses growing. Artists create every day to refine their craft. They don't rely on talent alone. They rely on habits that keep them improving even when no one's watching. Habits build discipline, and discipline builds excellence. Excellence isn't something you chase. It's something you become through repeated effort. But the most powerful thing about daily habits isn't just that they change your results. They change your identity. When you start doing the things successful people do, you start seeing yourself differently. You build pride in who you are becoming. You stop saying, I want to be disciplined, and start saying, I am disciplined. You stop hoping for change and start living it. Each day becomes a reflection of your commitment. Every small win reinforces your belief that you are capable of more. That belief is the foundation of unbreakable confidence. Habits are also a mirror of your standards. If your habits are weak, your standards are low. If your habits are strong, your standards are high. You can tell what kind of future someone will by looking at their daily habits. Do they spend time learning, improving, investing in themselves, or do they waste time complaining and stay comfortable? Your future is hidden in your present routines. If you want a different life, you must live differently today. Change your habits, and everything else will follow. There's no shortcut to success, but there's a simple path. Do the right things every day for long enough. That's the essence of daily habits. No magic, no secrets, just steady, consistent action. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. You won't always see progress, but you'll feel it in who you're becoming. Each day of discipline builds strength, confidence, and momentum. Over time, those days turn into weeks, those weeks into months, and those months into a new version of you, someone who doesn't just talk about change, but lives it. So when you wake up tomorrow, remember this. What you do daily matters more than what you do occasionally. Your future self is being built right now through your habits, through your routines, through your choices. Don't underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. Because one day when you look back, you'll realize that the small things weren't small at all. They were everything. Your habits are your destiny in motion. Build them with purpose, and they'll build a life you've always dreamed of. Comfort feels good. That's the trap. It feels warm, safe, familiar. It whispers to you, telling you everything's fine, that you don't need to push harder, that you can just stay where you are. But that's the lie that keeps most people stuck for years, sometimes for their whole lives. You see, the moment you start to grow, the moment you try to change, comfort shows up to remind you of how easy it used to be. It tries to convince you that change is too hard, too risky, too uncertain. But here's the truth. Comfort is the enemy of progress. Every great thing you want in life, every dream, every breakthrough, every level you're trying to reach lies the walls of comfort. If you stay there, you stay small. If you step out, you grow. People often say they want success, they want change, they want transformation. But what they really mean is they want all those things without having to feel uncomfortable. They want to win without losing sleep. They want to grow without pain. They want to evolve but stay safe. That's not how it works. Growth is not a comfortable process. The seed has to break through the soil before it becomes a tree. The caterpillar has to struggle in the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. The body has to tear muscle fibers before it becomes stronger. Nothing grows without pressure. Nothing changes without discomfort. That's why comfort is so dangerous. Tricks you into believing that staying still is easier, when in reality, staying still costs you your future. Think about where you are right now. If you feel too comfortable, that's not a sign that everything's fine. It's a warning sign, because comfort doesn't mean peace. It means stagnation. You stop learning, you stop stretching, you stop taking risks. You start settling for a good enough, even when deep down you know you're meant for a great. Comfort makes you justify why you can't change. You'll say, it's not the right time. I don't have the resources, or maybe next year. Those aren't reasons. Those are reasons. Those are excuses dressed up as logic. The truth is you're scared of what might happen if you fail, scared of what others might think, scared of the unknown. But here's the thing. Fear doesn't go away until you walk through it. You can't think your way out of fear. You have to move your way through it. When you step out of your comfort zone, you'll feel exposed. You'll feel uncertain. You'll doubt yourself. That's normal. That's what growth feels like. It's not supposed to feel easy. It's supposed to feel new. And new always feels uncomfortable. The key is not to run back to what's familiar. Most people do that. They start something new. It feels hard. They feel the discomfort, and instead of pushing through, they retreat back to what they know. And every time they do that, they teach themselves to quit when it hurts. They teach themselves that comfort matters more than progress. But if you stay a little longer in that uncomfortable space, if you keep showing up even when it feels awkward or painful, that's when the breakthrough happens. Think about a gym. When you lift weights, it burns, it hurts, you sweat, but you don't stop. You keep going because you know that pain is the signal of growth. The same principle applies to life. Emotional pain, mental discomfort, the awkwardness of trying something new. Those are the weights your soul has to lift to grow stronger. You can't skip the pain and expect progress. You can't pray for strength, but avoid struggle. You can't want transformation and still cling to comfort. You've got to choose. When you look at successful people, it's easy to think they got there because of talent or opportunity. But if you look deeper, you'll see a pattern. They all learned how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. They learned to live in that tension between who they are and who they're becoming. They didn't run from it. They used it. Because discomfort is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're on the edge of growth. Every time you face discomfort, you're being given a choice. Evolve or remain. And most people choose to remain because evolving feels too hard. But the cost of remaining the same is far greater than the cost of change. If you stay comfortable, you'll survive, but you won't thrive. You'll exist, but you won't live. You'll keep replaying the same story, year after year, wishing for something more, but never daring to chase it. That's the tragedy of comfort. It robs you slowly. It doesn't destroy you all at once. It just makes you settle a little more each day, until one day you wake up and realize your dreams died quietly while you were busy being comfortable. You've got to decide that you're done with that. You've got to say, I want more, and I'm willing to go through the fire to get it. Because every next level of your life demands a new version of you, and that version won't come alive in comfort. You've got to be willing to look foolish for a while. You've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing to feel the fear and do it anyway. That's how growth works. You trade temporary discomfort for long-term transformation. Look at your life right now. The areas that frustrate you, the places where you feel stuck. I guarantee that somewhere in that space, there's a comfort zone you've refused to leave. Maybe it's a job you've outgrown, but you're scared to leave. Maybe it's a relationship that feels safe, but no longer challenges you. Maybe it's a mindset that keeps you small because it's easier to believe you can't than to believe you can. Whatever it is, that's your wall. And the only way to move forward is to break through it. Breaking through comfort requires awareness. You've got to recognize when comfort starts controlling your decisions. You've got to catch yourself when you say, I'll do it later, or it's too risky, or I'm not ready, because you'll never feel ready. No one ever does. Readiness doesn't come before action. It comes after. You don't build confidence by waiting. You build it by doing. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, you train your mind to expand its limits. What felt terrifying yesterday becomes normal today. That's how you grow. The truth is, most people never live their dreams, not because they can't, but because they won't leave what's familiar. They keep waiting for the perfect time, the perfect moment, the perfect plan. But perfection never comes. Life rewards the bold, the ones who move even when they're scared. The ones who say, I don't have it all figured out, but I'm going to take the first step anyway. Because once you move, momentum takes over. Progress isn't about giant leaps. It's about consistent movement, one uncomfortable step after another. Let me tell you something real. The discomfort you avoid today becomes the regret you carry tomorrow. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you choose mediocrity over greatness. You choose safety over purpose. You choose easy now, hard later. But when you choose challenge, when you choose growth, when you choose to step into the unknown, you're choosing to live a life that actually means something. You're choosing freedom. Comfort will always call you back. It'll whisper, take it easy. Slow down. You've done enough. But you have to silence that voice and listen to the one inside you that says, I can do more. I can be more. I'm not done yet. Because deep down, you know you were made for more than this. You weren't created to just exist. You were created to evolve. You weren't built to sit in one place. You were built to climb, to stretch, to soar. But you can't fly while holding on to comfort, so push yourself. Try the thing that scares you. Have the hard conversation. Start the project. Take the risk. Fail, learn, and rise again. Every time you do, you expand your capacity for greatness. Every time you push past your comfort zone, you remind yourself of what's possible. You start realizing that the limits you believed in were never real. They were just walls built by fear. Your comfort zone is like a prison with invisible bars. The moment you stop fearing the discomfort, you realize the door has been open all along. You can walk out anytime. You just have to decide that you will. Because your dreams, your potential, your best life, they're all waiting outside that door. But you can't reach them from the couch of comfort. Don't spend another year stuck in the same place, doing the same things, feeling the same frustrations, making the same excuses. It's time to stretch. It's time to risk. It's time to get uncomfortable. Because growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone, and comfort doesn't lead to greatness. You gotta make a decision right now that you will no longer let comfort dictate your future. You will no longer choose easy over extraordinary. You will no longer settle for less just because it feels safe. The truth is, you can have comfort or you can have change, but you can't have both. And when you finally choose change, when you finally decide that the discomfort of growth is better than the pain of regret, that's when your entire life begins to shift. That's when you start to see the power that was inside you all along. So step out, stretch, struggle, grow, because everything you want is waiting for you, just outside your comfort zone. Your life will always move in the direction of your dominant thoughts. That's not just a nice saying. It's a law. What you think about most, you move toward. What you believe about yourself, you begin to become. Every decision you make, every risk you take, every opportunity you recognize or ignore, it all flows from your mindset. People talk about luck, timing, opportunity, but the truth is, none of that matters if your mindset is working against you. Your thoughts are the steering wheel of your life. You can't think negative and expect to live positive. You can't think small and expect to build big. You can't walk around saying I can and expect to ever discover that you can. Mindset determines movement. If you wake up every morning thinking about what's wrong, what's missing, or what's broken, you'll find proof of all of it. You'll move through the day with low energy, low confidence, and low faith. Every challenge will look impossible. Every opportunity will feel too risky. You won't even try because your mind has already decided you can't win. But if you wake up focused on what's possible, on what you can control, and on what's working for you, your entire world starts to shift. The same problems show up, but now you see them different. You start looking for solutions instead of reasons. You start seeing potential where others see pain. That's the power of mindset. It shapes your perception, and your perception shapes your reality. People underestimate how powerful their inner dialogue is. You might not say it out loud, but that voice in your head, the one that says, I'm not good enough, I always fail, I'll never make it. That voice runs your life. You become what you constantly tell yourself. Most people lose before they even stop because they talk themselves out of trying. They feed their fears and starve their faith. They believe the lies of limitation, but you can change that. You can reprogram your thoughts. You can train your mind the same way you train a muscle. It takes practice, repetition, and awareness. Every time a negative thought comes, you have to challenge it, replace it, and redirect it. Mindset is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing your focus. Life will always have challenges, but your power lies in what you choose to see. When things go wrong, a fixed mindset says, I can't handle this. A growth mindset says, tough, but I can learn from it. One mindset leads to quitting. The other leads to evolving. It's that simple. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your mindset. So if you want to change your life, don't just set new goals. Set a new way of thinking. I've seen people with all the resources in the world still lose because they couldn't manage their minds. And I've seen people with almost nothing rise to greatness because they refuse to let their circumstances dictate their attitude. You might not control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. That's the difference between being stuck and being strong. You can't let your external world control your internal world. When your mindset is right, you stop reacting to problems emotionally and start responding to them strategically. You stop saying, why me? And start asking, what can I learn from this? The truth is, your thoughts are like seeds. Whatever you plant, you'll eventually see grow. If you plant fear, you'll harvest hesitation. If you plant doubt, you'll harvest failure. But if you plant faith, resilience, and confidence, You'll start seeing opportunities where others only see obstacles. Your mind creates patterns, and those patterns turn into habits. Over time, those habits become your life. So if you want to move in a new direction, you got to start with your thoughts. Every time you say, I can't, your brain believes you. It shuts down possibilities. But when you say, I can, even if you don't know how yet, your brain starts working to figure it out. It begins looking for solutions, resources, and strategy. You literally activate a different part of your brain when you shift from defeat to determination. That's why mindset isn't just motivation. It's biology. Your body follows your brain. Your emotions follow your expectations. Change your thoughts and you'll change your chemistry, your confidence, and your choices. Most people live in mental autopilot. They let old beliefs run their lives, beliefs planted by parents, teachers, society, or failure. They don't realize those beliefs are outdated programs that need replacing. If your inner script says, you're not smart enough, you're not capable, you don't deserve success, then that's exactly how you'll live. But you can rewrite the script. You can decide, I'm learning every day, I'm capable of figuring things out. I deserve better. You can't control your first thought, but you can control your second one, the one that decides what happens next. Let's be honest, your life is a reflection of your inner world. If you think small, you'll act small. If you think like a victim, you'll keep finding reasons why life is unfair. But if you think like a creator, you'll find ways to build something even out of broken pieces. The world doesn't shape you. Your mindset shapes how you see the world. That's why two people can face the same storm. One breaks down, the other breaks through. It's not the storm that decides the outcome. It's the mindset of the sailor. You can't move forward with a backward mindset. You can't hold on to old fear and expect a new future. Sometimes you gotta let go of what you believe about yourself so you can discover who you really are. Maybe people told you you'd never make it. Maybe you failed before and now you think that's who you are, a failure. But you're not your past. You're your potential. You're the sum of your choices, not your mistakes. When you shift your mindset from limitation to possibility, from fear to faith, everything around you starts to move differently. The people who achieve greatness don't have easier lives. They just have stronger minds. They choose their thoughts intentionally. When fear says you can't, they respond with a watch me. When doubt says it's too late, they say it's my time. When failure whispers to give up, they shout back, I'm not done yet. They've learned to master their minds instead of being mastered by them. And that's the key, because until you control your mind, it will control you. There will be days when you feel tired, when your old mindset tries to drag you back to comfort, when the negative voice gets loud again. That's when you have to fight for your new mindset. You've got to talk back to your doubts. You got to affirm who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Say it out loud if you have to. I am capable. I am learning. I am strong. I am enough. Words have power. Speak what you want to see, not what you fear. You are literally reprogramming your subconscious every time you choose faith over fear. And understand this, mindset isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. You have to choose it every morning, in every challenge, in every conversation. Some days you'll slip back into old patterns, but that's okay. Awareness is progress. Every time you catch yourself thinking small and choose to think bigger instead, you're growing. Every time you replace self-doubt with self-belief, you're expanding. Every time you choose gratitude over complaint, you're elevating. This is the real work of transformation. Your mindset is your foundation. You can build skills, strategies, and systems. But if your mindset isn't solid, everything else will crumble under pressure. That's why successful people invest more time in developing their minds than anything else. They read, they learn, they surround themselves with growth-minded people. They know that if they keep their thoughts right, everything else will align. They know that what happens in their mind will eventually show up in their life. So if you want to move forward, start thinking forward. Stop replaying old failures. Stop repeating old excuses. Stop focusing on what you lack. Start visualizing where you lack. Start affirming who you're becoming. Start believing that the life you want is possible. Because once your mind believes it, your actions will follow it. And once your actions align, your results will reflect it. Don't wait for your situation to change your mindset. Change your mindset and your situation will change. It's not magic, it's momentum. The moment you start thinking differently, you start acting differently. When you act differently, you start attracting different opportunities, different people, and different results. That's the hidden power of mindset. It's the root of transformation. So guard your mind, protect your thoughts, feed it with faith, not fear, with possibilities, not limitations, with gratitude, not complaints, because your mind is the engine of your destiny. Whatever you allow in it will either propel you or paralyze you. Choose wisely, because every new chapter of your life begins with a new way of thinking. The truth is, your mindset is the difference between existing and excelling, between quitting and conquering, between being stuck and being unstoppable. You can have all the talent, all the opportunities, all the support, but if your mindset says, I can't, but if your mindset says, I will, nothing can stop you. Change your mind and you change your movement. Change your movement and you change your life. Everything starts here, in your mind. So think higher, think stronger, think forward. Because your mindset is the key that unlocks your next level. Pain is a language. It speaks to you in moments when words cannot. It shows up not to destroy you, but to teach you something you wouldn't have learned any other way. Most people run from pain. They see it as an enemy, something to avoid, something that means they failed. But the truth is, pain is one of life's greatest teachers. It refines you. It humbles you. It exposes what's weak in you so you can strengthen it. It strips away illusion and reveals truth. If you look back at the most powerful growth moments in your life, they didn't come from easy times. They came from the moments that broke you, challenged you, and forced you to change. That's why pain isn't something to hate. It's something to understand. It's the pressure that produces purpose. We live in a world that glorifies comfort. We want quick fixes, easy wins, smooth roads. But there's no growth without pain. You can't build endurance without struggle. You can't develop wisdom without mistakes. You can't find strength without suffering. It's easy to say you want to grow, but real growth means you have to walk through the fire. It means letting go of what's safe and familiar so you can become who you are meant to be. Pain doesn't ask for your permission. It arrives to push you toward transformation. When you learn to see pain as part of the process, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Pain reveals your character. Anyone can smile when things are good. Anyone can stay calm when life is easy. When pain shows up, when life hits you hard, that's when your true self comes out. It exposes what's inside you. Do you fold or do you fight? Do you complain or do you commit? Pain has a way of showing you whether your faith is real or just words. You don't know your strength until it's tested. You don't know your resilience until life gives you a reason to quit. Every time you endure pain and refuse to give up, you grow a little stronger. You begin to trust yourself more. You realize that you can handle more than you thought you could. When you change how you see pain, you change how you experience it. Pain doesn't have to paralyze you, it can prepare you. Every setback can build strength. Every heartbreak can deepen understanding. Every loss can teach gratitude. It's not what happens to you that defines you, it's how you respond to it. Pain will try to convince you that it's permanent, that the darkness will never end. But everything you're feeling now is temporary. The wound will heal, the confusion will fade, and one day you'll look back and realize that the very thing that hurt you the most built you the most. Sometimes pain is life's way of removing what doesn't belong. You might lose people, jobs, opportunities, or plans, and it hurts. But what you don't see in the moment is that pain is pruning you. It's clearing space for something better. You can't receive what's next if your hands are still holding on to what was. The loss isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. You were never meant to stay in one place forever. Pain pushes you out of places that comfort would have kept you trapped in. It disrupts your routine so you can rediscover your purpose. You see, pain doesn't just test your strength. It reveals your direction. When something hurts deeply, it points to something meaningful. You don't feel pain over things that don't matter. If you're hurting, it's a sign that your heart cares, that your soul is alive. Pain wakes you up. It breaks the illusion of control. It reminds you that you're human, that you need growth, that you can't do it all alone. Pain humbles you enough to listen, to reflect, to rebuild. Some of the most profound wisdom in life comes from moments of deep hurt. because those moments strip away everything false and leave only truth. There's a difference between suffering with purpose and suffering with no direction. Pain without meaning leads to bitterness. But pain with purpose leads to transformation. The key is perspective. You can let pain make you angry, or you can let it make you aware. You can let it close your heart, or you can let it open your eyes. You can let it make you a victim, or you can let it make you victorious. The choice is always yours. You can't always control pain, but you can always control its purpose. Every time life knocks you down, you have two choices. Stay down or get back up. Pain will whisper, stay here, it's easier. But if you rise again, you prove that the pain didn't break you, it built you. Every comeback begins with a moment of pain. Every breakthrough starts with a breakdown. You can't become unshakable if nothing ever shook you. You can't become fearless if nothing ever scared you. Pain doesn't destroy, it defines. It shapes the story that you'll tell one day. It's a story of how you faced something that should have defeated you, but instead it developed you. You have to learn to sit with your pain instead of running from it. Running only delays the healing. The more you resist pain, the more it persists. But when you face it, when you feel it fully and process it honestly, that's when it begins to lose its power. Pain is energy, and when you face it, you transform it. You turn it into wisdom, empathy, creativity, and drive. Some of the greatest art, innovation, and movements in history were born from pain. The people who changed the world weren't the ones who avoided pain. They were the ones who used it. There's beauty in brokenness if you have the courage to look for it. Broken things reflect light differently. The cracks let light in. Pain opens you in ways comfort never could. It deepens your capacity for compassion. It makes you more aware of other struggles. It reminds you that strength isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about continuing even when it's not. Sometimes the people who smile the brightest are the ones who cry the hardest. They've learned that joy isn't the absence of pain. It's the victory over it. When you go through pain, you start to understand life on a deeper level. You realize what truly matters. You stop chasing shallow things. Stop chasing shallow things. You stop wasting energy on people or problems that don't deserve your peace. Pain has a way of realigning your priorities. It shows you the difference between what's urgent and what's important. It makes you appreciate health after sickness, peace after chaos, love after loneliness. Pain brings perspective, and perspective brings wisdom. But to reach that wisdom, you have to be willing to endure the process. Growth is painful because it demands sacrifice. You have to let go of who you were to become who you're meant to be. That transition isn't comfortable. It's messy. It's confusing, but it's necessary. When you're in pain, remember that you're not being punished. You're being prepared. Just like a diamond needs pressure to form, you need challenges to reach your full potential. No one becomes great without going through something. There will be days when the pain feels too heavy to carry. On those days, don't pretend you're okay, but don't give up either. Cry if you need to. Rest if you must. But don't quit. You're not meant to stay in the valley. You're meant to walk through it. Every storm runs out of rain eventually. Every wound eventually scars over. But scars aren't signs of weakness. They're proof of survival. They tell the world, I've been through something and I'm still here. Pain might change you, but it doesn't have to define you. When life hurts, remember that you're not alone. Everyone experiences pain. It's the one thing that connects us all. But not everyone learns from it. Be the one who does. Be the one who lets pain build empathy instead of resentment. Be the one who uses it to fuel growth instead of feeding anger. Pain can isolate you or inspire you. You decide which it will be. And one day when the pain fades, when you're standing stronger than before, you'll understand why it had to happen the way it did. You'll look back and realize that if it weren't for the struggle, you wouldn't have discovered your strength. If it weren't for the heartbreak, you wouldn't have learned self-worth. If it weren't for the loss, you wouldn't have developed gratitude. Every painful chapter contributes to the masterpiece of your life. So the next time pain comes, don't just ask for it to go away, ask for the lesson it carries. Ask for the growth it's trying to bring. Ask for the strength to face it instead of flee from it, because pain is not a punishment, it's a process. It's life's way of molding you into something greater. Don't waste your pain. Don't numb it. Don't hide it. Use it. Let it stretch you. Let it refine you. Let it guide you toward your purpose. Pain is a teacher that never leaves empty-handed. It always delivers a lesson. even if it's one you didn't expect. It breaks you down so you can rebuild with intention. It strips away the unnecessary so you can focus on what's essential. It's the fire that burns away weakness and leaves behind resilience. When you stop fearing pain, you start mastering life. Because pain will visit you whether you invite it or not. But it's your choice whether it leaves you broken or better. So don't run from the pain. Respect it. Learn from it. Grow through it, because everything you're praying for, strength, wisdom, resilience, peace, it's all hidden inside the pain you're avoiding. Embrace it and watch how your struggle becomes your strength. Your wounds become your wisdom and your pain becomes your purpose. There comes a moment in every person's life when they have to look themselves in the mirror and say, enough is enough. Here's enough. Not because the world finally recognized their worth, not because somebody finally believed in them, but because they finally believed in themselves. That's the moment when the shift happens. That's the moment when a human being stops running from their potential and starts running toward it with everything they have. And that moment doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It doesn't come in the middle of your success. It doesn't come when everything is going your way. It comes when things are heavy. It comes when life is stretching you, pushing you, testing whether you really want it or you only want it. And most times it comes when nobody is watching, when nobody is cheering, when nobody is applauding, but you still decide to rise. You got to understand something right now. The strongest version of you cannot be built in convenience. Diamonds don't form in comfort. Gold doesn't refine in cool air. Warriors aren't made in quiet places. The best of you is waiting on the other side of the challenges you keep avoiding. You can pray, you can hope, you can dream, but nothing, absolutely nothing, will change until you decide to grow past your excuses. Most people wait for life to calm down. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait for motivation. They wait for clarity. But what they don't realize is that waiting becomes a habit. Procrastination becomes a lifestyle. Fear becomes a roommate. And comfort becomes a cage. You weren't designed to live trapped in the same patterns, the same doubts, the same fears that controlled you last year. Growth is not something that happens accidentally. Growth is intentional. Growth is a choice you make every single day, even when it hurts, even when it's frustrating, even when progress feels slow. People want transformation without discomfort. They want success without sacrifice. They want elevation without separation. But you cannot evolve while holding on to everything that's breaking you. You cannot reach new levels while dragging old habits. You cannot become who you were created to be while clinging to the identity that keeps you safe. Safe is not your destiny. Familiar is not your future. If you want to grow, you must step into the unknown, the unfamiliar, the uncomfortable parts of your journey. You have to make peace with the fact that growth is often lonely. Not because people don't love you, but because not everyone is meant to go where you are going. Not everyone will understand your mindset. Not everyone will support your grind. Not everyone will clap for your discipline. You will outgrow some people, and that's not betrayal. That's evolution. That's evolution. There are people you love deeply, but if you stay connected to them in the same way, you will stay stuck in the same place. You will have to distance yourself from certain environments, conversations, and behaviors that no longer serve your future. It hurts, but it's necessary. It's the price of becoming the person you're supposed to be. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they can grow without letting anything go. But every upgrade in life demands a release. Every blessing requires space. Every next level requires leaving something behind, whether it's a mindset, a habit, a relationship, or an excuse. You have to clear out what's blocking your path. Otherwise, you'll spend your entire life circling the same mountain, wondering why nothing is changing. And the truth is, the problem isn't the mountain. The problem is the baggage you refuse to drop. You can't climb higher carrying everything you used to be. Growth also requires honesty, the kind of honesty that makes you uncomfortable. Not just saying, I need to improve, but recognizing exactly where you've been slacking, exactly where you've been lying to yourself, exactly where you've been settling instead of stretching. When you can admit your weaknesses without shame, that's when you gain real power. Because when you identify your blind spots, you can fix them. When you identify your patterns, you can break them. When you identify your excuses, you can eliminate them. But you cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot strengthen what you refuse to face. And you must stop thinking growth is supposed to feel good. Growth is painful. Growth feels like confusion. Growth feels like pressure. Growth feels like discipline. Growth feels like a version of you dying, so a better version can ride. You will question yourself. You will doubt yourself. You will wonder if you're going in circles, but you are not. You are shedding layers. You are unlearning limitation. You are breaking mental wall. You are waking up parts of yourself that have been asleep for years. The process is uncomfortable, but the discomfort is the evidence that something in you is changing. You got to be willing to stretch beyond what is easy. You got to be willing to embrace challenges that make you feel small for a moment, so you can grow bigger for the rest of your life. You got to be willing to step into rooms where you aren't the strongest, the smartest, or the most confident. Because those rooms force you to rise. Those rooms force you to level up. Those rooms force you to confront the version of yourself you want to leave behind. Comfort keeps you stagnant. Challenges make you unstoppable. There is another thing about growth that many people overlook: consistency. Everyone wants the big breakthrough, the huge transformation, the overnight success. But growth doesn't come in explosions. It comes in increments. It comes from the things you do every day when nobody is watching, when nobody is praising you, when nobody even knows what you are working on. It comes from small acts of discipline repeated over and over until they become habits, until those habits become a lifestyle, and until that lifestyle turns into a new identity. You do not need to change your entire life overnight. You just need to be consistent enough that your small steps become a path, and your path becomes a journey, and your journey transforms you. And you have to understand something deeply. Your life will always reflect your internal growth. If nothing inside you changes, nothing outside you will. If your mindset stays the same, your circumstances will too. If your habits stay the same, your results will too. If your decisions stay the same, your future will too. People say they want a better life, but they cling to the same patterns that keep them average. They say they want success, but they maintain the same mindset that keeps them fearful. They say they want abundance, but they operate with the same scarcity mentality that keeps them stuck. Growth is not optional if you want transformation. Growth is the requirement. You've got to challenge yourself to rise above the excuses you've been living with for years. You've got to challenge yourself to stop settling for mediocrity. You've got to challenge yourself to stop waiting for someone else to push you. You have to become the kind of person who sees growth not as a chore, but as a privilege. The privilege to become better, the privilege to rewrite your story, the privilege to live a life that reflects your true potential. You cannot keep wishing for change while living like the old you. You cannot ask for a new life while holding on to the habits of your past. Growth is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. It's the price of admission for greatness. It's the door you must walk through if you want to unlearn the fears that held you back, unlock the resilience inside you, and unleash the version of yourself that's been waiting for years to show up. You gotta grow into the person your dreams require. You gotta grow into the discipline your goals demand. You gotta grow into the mindset your future needs. If you don't transform internally, your external world will stay the same no matter how much you desire change. And hear me clearly, you don't need the approval of anyone to grow. You don't need validation to grow. You don't need applause to grow. Growth is your responsibility. Growth is your assignment. Growth is your mission. When you embrace that, everything in your life begins to move. Doors start opening. Opportunities start appearing. Opportunities start appearing. The right people start showing up. Because growth aligns you with your destiny. Growth prepares you for your blessing long before the blessing arrives. So decide today that you will no longer be the same person you were last year, last month, or even yesterday. Decide that you will not shrink yourself to stay comfortable. Decide that you will not sabotage your destiny by clinging to your limitation. Decide that you will stretch, you will rise, you will evolve, even when it's hard, even when it's messy, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is happening, you are growing, you are becoming. You are transforming into the person your future is waiting for. Because your life won't change unless you do. And the moment you commit to growing without apology, without hesitation, without fear, that's the moment your entire life begins to shift. There comes a time when a person realizes that destiny doesn't come looking for them. They must go after it with everything inside them. No more waiting. No more hoping that somehow life will magically shift. No more wishing for a breakthrough while living with the same patterns that keep them stuck. There is a point where you finally understand that if you want your life to transform, you must take complete ownership of your path. Not partial ownership, not conditional ownership, full ownership. Because ownership is the doorway to power. As long as you blame others for where you are, you give away the authority to change it. As long as you point to your upbringing, your circumstances, your failures, your lack of support, you hand over your future to things outside your control. But the moment you say, this is my life, and I'm responsible for what I do with it, everything changes. That is the moment when you shift from being a passenger to being the driver. That is when life starts responding differently, because you are finally showing up differently, Responsibility is not a burden, it's a superpower. It means no one gets to dictate your ceiling unless you let them. It means your past doesn't get to define your future unless you surrender to it. It means your environment doesn't get to decide your success unless you accept it. When you own your life, you stop negotiating with excuses. You stop entertaining the voice that tells you, now. You stop living in the shadow of fear, doubt, and procrastination. You start living with intention. You start moving with purpose. You start making choices that align with who you want to be, not who you've been. But taking ownership requires brutal honesty. You have to be willing to look at the parts of your life that are not working and say, this is on me. Not in a shameful way, but in a powerful way. You have to admit when you haven't given your best. You have to admit when you've been running from accountability. You have to admit when you've been settling for less than what you deserve. Because you cannot fix what you refuse to face. People go years, sometimes decades, carrying the same habits because they never confronted them. They carry the same mindset because they never challenged it. They carry the same pain because they never healed it. Ownership is not just about claiming your strengths. It is about owning your flaws so you can transform them. And once you take responsibility for your life, you realize that you also have the ability to rewrite your story. You don't have to repeat what you've seen. You don't have to remain who you were. You don't have to be limited by the mistakes you made. You don't have to hold yourself hostage to the chapters you wish you could erase. Ownership means the pen is in your hand now. You get to decide how the rest of the story unfolds. And the beautiful thing about life is that it doesn't matter how many pages you've already filled. There is always room for a new beginning. There is always space for transformation. There is always time to rebuild, to recover, to rise again. But you must be willing to demand more from yourself. Many people want success, but they don't demand enough from themselves to reach it. They want progress without pressure. They want greatness without grinding for it. They want freedom without discipline. But ownership requires standards, not just dreams. Standards for the way you think. Standards for the way you work. Standards for the way you show up every single day. When you raise your standards, your life rises with them. When you demand more from yourself, you receive more from life. You can't live like everyone else and expect a life that's different from everyone else. You can't operate at a low level and expect high-level rewards. Your habits have to match your aspiration. Your effort has to match your goals. Your mindset has to match the destiny you're asking for. Taking ownership also means refusing to be controlled by your emotions. Too many people let temporary feelings make permanent decisions. They quit because they're tired. They stop because they're afraid. They avoid difficult conversations because they don't want discomfort. They hold on to grudges because they don't want vulnerability. But emotional discipline is part of owning your life. You have to learn how to feel things without being ruled by them. You have to learn how to push forward even when your feelings tell you to retreat. You have to learn how to keep going even when motivation fades. Living by emotion leads to inconsistency. Living by commitment leads to transformation. And another truth you must accept is this: nobody is coming to save you. Yes, people can help you. Yes, people can support you. Yes, people can guide you. But at the end of the day, everything you want, the dream, the success, the growth, the breakthrough, depends on what you do, not what anyone else does. Too many people are waiting for someone to believe in them, but they haven't built the discipline to believe in themselves. Too many people are waiting for an opportunity, but they haven't prepared themselves to be ready when it comes. Too many people are waiting for the right time, but they don't realize that the right time is created, not found. When you own your life, you stop waiting for a miracle and start becoming the miracle. Ownership also means owning the consequence of your action, both the good and the bad. When you win, you celebrate. When you lose, you learn, but you don't blame. You don't point fingers. You don't shrink. You don't run. You take the lesson, you apply it, and you move forward. Every setback becomes a teacher. Every failure becomes a stepping stone. Every disappointment becomes a moment of clarity. There is no such thing as wasted pain when you take responsibility. The moment you stop seeing yourself as a victim is the moment you start seeing every struggle as preparation. And when you live with full responsibility, an amazing thing happens. You become unstoppable. The reason people stay stuck is because they feel powerless. But ownership returns your power. It restores your confidence. It reconnects you with your potential. It reminds you that you are not helpless. You are capable. You are not limited. You are evolving. You are not stuck. You just haven't taken the steps yet. Responsibility gives you the courage to take risks, to face challenges, to stand up after every fall. It gives you the strength to make sacrifices that others won't make. It gives you the determination to keep going long after others quit. Eventually, you start to see that responsibility as freedom. It frees you from excuses. It frees you from dependence. It frees you from the limitations you once accepted. It frees you from waiting on other people to fix what only you can change. And the more responsibility you take, the more control you gain. The more control you gain, the more progress you create. The more progress you create, the more momentum you build. And momentum is the greatest force in personal transformation. Once it begins, it pushes you into a new level of life you never imagined. Your life will not change unless you do. And one of the most powerful ways to change is by taking full responsibility for everything you can control. You must decide that your future matters more than your excuses. You must decide that your success matters more than your comfort. You must decide that your growth matters more than your distractions. The day you make that decision is the day everything in your life begins to shift in your favor. Because responsibility is the foundation of greatness. Responsibility is the birthplace of transformation. Responsibility is the gateway to every goal, every dream, and every breakthrough you've ever wanted. And the moment you step fully into responsibility, without fear, without hesitation, without excuses, that is the moment your entire life begins to elevate, because your life won't change unless you do. And when you finally take ownership of every step, every choice, every moment, you become the author of your own destiny. And once you take the pen, nothing can stop the story you're about to write. And now we come to the moment where everything we've talked about comes together. The moment where truth meets responsibility, where excuses finally meet their end, where the version of you that has been waiting in the shadows finally steps forward. This is not just the ending of a speech. This is the beginning of your transformation. This is the place where you decide what happens next. Not life, not circumstances, not your past, not fear, you. Because everything starts with the decision that you will no longer be who you were. Everything begins the moment you declare that your life will not stay the same, because you will not stay the same. You've heard the message. You've understood the principles. You've reflected on the truth. Now you must take action, because knowing is not enough. Understanding is not enough. Feeling inspired is not enough. The world is full of people who know what to do but never do it. People who feel motivated for a moment but never translate that feeling into movement. People who hear powerful words but let those words fade the moment life tests them. But you are not going to be one of those people. You have come too far. You have survived too much. You have grown through too many storms to settle for a life that does not reflect your strength. And understand this, your transformation will not come from one big decision. It will come from 1,000 small ones. It will come from waking up every day with the determination to do what you said you would do. It will come from choosing discipline over comfort, purpose over distraction, growth over excuses. It will come from showing up on the days when you feel unstoppable and showing up again on the days when you feel defeated. Because real change is not measured by how you act when everything is going well. It is measured by how you respond when everything is heavy. When life gets loud, when doubt creeps in, when fear whispers in your ear, that is where transformation is born. Your new life requires a new mindset, a new attitude, a new level of self-belief. You cannot walk into your future thinking like the person you used to be. You cannot take old habits into new seasons. You cannot use yesterday's commitment to build tomorrow's success. Every level of life demands a different version of you. Every chapter requires a new mindset. Every breakthrough requires a deeper level of discipline. So in this moment, you must decide that you are willing to evolve even when it's uncomfortable. You must be willing to outgrow the people, the habits, the environments that no longer elevate you. You must be willing to separate from everything that distracts you from your purpose. And I want you to understand something deeply. Nothing in your life is wasted. Not the pain, not the failures, not the disappointments, not the delays. All of it has been preparing you for this moment. Every tear, every setback, every long night, every silent battle, they were shaping you into someone strong enough to walk into your destiny. They were building resilience. They were building character. They were building hunger. They were building wisdom. You are not the same person you were last year, last month, or even last week. You have grown. You have survived. You have endured. And that endurance is the evidence that you are ready for more. But readiness alone is not enough. You must commit, not halfway, not sometimes not when life is easy. Fully, completely, with your whole heart. Because your goals will not be achieved by wishing. Your dreams will not be fulfilled by hoping. Your breakthrough will not arrive by accident. It will arrive through consistency, sacrifice, focus, and relentless effort. You must decide that you will no longer negotiate with the old version of yourself. You will no longer argue with your potential. You will no longer question your ability. You are capable. You are powerful. You are equipped. Everything you need to change your life is already inside you. It just needs to be activated through action. And hear me, you do not need permission to rise. You do not need validation to change. You do not need applause to become your best self. Some of the most powerful decisions you will ever make will be made in silence, when nobody is watching, when nobody believes in you yet, when nobody understands your vision. But that is where champions are formed. Not in the spotlight, but in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not in celebration, but in discipline. Not in applause, but in commitment. Don't wait for the world to see your value. Show up for yourself until they have no choice but to notice. Your journey will not be easy, but it will be worth it. There will be worth it. There will be days when you feel tired, discouraged, overwhelmed. There will be moments when you question whether the struggle is worth it. There will be times when the temptation to quit feels stronger than the desire to continue. But you must remind yourself why you started. You must remember the pain of staying the same. You must remember the emptiness of living beneath your potential. You must remember the fire inside you that refuses to be ordinary. You are not average. You were not created to live a life of regret. You were created to rise, to grow, to become something extraordinary. And everything you've ever wanted, the freedom, the success, the peace, the confidence, the strength, is all waiting on the other side of your commitment. Not your dream, not your wish, your commitment. The moment you commit fully, life begins to open. Opportunities begin to appear. The right people begin to arrive. The path becomes clearer. Doors begin to unlock because they were always meant for you, but you had to become the person who could walk through them. So let this moment be your turning point. Let this moment be the day you stop talking about change and start living it. Let this moment be the line between who you were and who you are becoming. Let this moment be the beginning of your rise. Not next week, not next month, not when life settles down, right now. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the decision to take ownership of your transformation. Your life won't change unless you do. Your results won't shift unless you do. Your future won't elevate unless you do. But once you change, once you truly commit, once you truly discipline yourself, once you truly step into your power, there is nothing, absolutely nothing that can stop you. Not your past, not your peers, not your circumstances, nothing. This is your moment. This is your moment. This is your chance. This is your beginning. Go rewrite your story. Go build your destiny. Go become the person you were always meant to be. And when the world looks at you years from now, they won't just see someone who changed their life. They'll see someone who became the change. Because everything shifts the moment you decide, my life won't change unless I do.